Superpowered Smash.
Hello everybody, my name is Ben and I am the art director for Dark Unicorn Games. I am a graphic designer and a professional illustrator, and most recently I've been the lead artist on a project, a new game called Superpowered Smash Masters, which you can get on the Dark Unicorn website. And so if you are interested in supporting me or Dark Unicorn Games, the best way to do that is to pick up a copy of the game. You'll be seeing this logo around a lot. It's on darkunicorngames.com. But for that game, I've spent a lot of time drawing comic book characters, superheroes, and so I wanted to share a little bit of how I did that with you. And I'm going to do that. Today's the first of hopefully a series of these, and I'm going to try to keep them kind of short, maybe 10, 15 minutes. So we're not going to go super deep here, but we are going to be looking at some different, basically what's going on in my head while I'm drawing these things. So I'm sorry if it gets a little bit scary, but that's where we're going. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about how I started drawing and how I've learned to draw and how that's changed over the years. When I started drawing, it was probably in the 7th or 8th grade, so I think I started maybe a little bit late. Um, but what I would do is I just read comic books. I love comic books, and so I would just look at the pictures that I saw in the comics and I would just draw them. And I didn't really have a good understanding of what I was doing. I was just sort of imitating them. I wasn't tracing so much. I was just sort of looking at it and drawing and trying to figure out how they made those things look so cool. And so actually I have a drawing here from when I was in high school, I think, and you can sort of see here, this is early days. You can kind of see that I've kind of got some ideas going on here of like how things are put together, but I don't really understand things. Like I don't know what's going on here. Sometimes I'm still not sure I do. What's this? I don't know. Uh, is that how you really connect ahead? And really don't know what's going on with this stuff here. But anyway, the what I was doing was just sort of looking and not really understanding. And so about that time, a family friend of ours brought over a book for me to read. And this is, it wasn't this copy. I had the original, and or it was like a first printing, and I think I had it for way too long. But this is Björn Hogarth's dynamic figure drawing. And if you are looking to draw or learn to draw, you should definitely be looking into some books, what other people have to say. Bjorn is Hogarth's great work in here. But what he teaches and what he taught me is called constructive anatomy. And so that's a way to basically, it's about figure construction, how to build a figure based on what you know. So it's not just drawing what you see, but it's also drawing from your imagination. And that's something that's very important when it comes to drawing superheroes, because most people don't see superheroes wandering around the street. And when you do, they're not likely to stop and let you draw them. Wait, pose a little bit different. And I remember early on that I didn't necessarily like that idea. I remember doing a test where I sat down and I drew the same figure the way that I had been learning to do it, which was mostly just outlines and things. And then I tried Hogarth's method with constructing it. And at the time, actually, I liked the way that I was doing it better, because just like everything, especially art, every time you learn something new, it's not like a magic fix. It's just going to take time. It takes practice. And so the sooner I started constructing figures as I drew, the more time I had to practice with it. And so I remember my son came and asked me not too long ago, said, "Dad, how can I learn to draw like you?" And I said, "Well, practice." And he said, "Well, how else?" Because nobody likes practice. And so it's important, though, to be able to practice. And so the sooner I started down this path, the better off I got. But what that means is that you're going to have to start doing using a superpower that I like to call Shape-O-Vision. Trademark. Yeah, this is not that you have to get a haircut like this, but just as this is the idea of when you're looking at things to draw, you're actually looking for shapes. You see shapes everywhere, and this is true with anything that you draw from your imagination. You can construct and build things with shapes, but particularly when it comes to figure drawing. But I mean, even let's just say here. So this is a bowl of fruit, and you can see that it's very simply mostly spheres, mostly just spheres, half spheres, pretty straightforward. Here's a very well. Maybe the one on the right looks kind of uncomfortable, but when you soften it up a little bit, it looks pretty good. But here's just furniture. It's basically just squares, rectangles, But what you're seeing are three-dimensional shapes as well. You're seeing shapes that are in space and have volume. That's why we're looking for shapes, and we're going to use them to build our figures. Um, Here's an airplane. Airplanes are mostly just shapes too. They're cylinders. You can use cylinders to make an airplane, and here's an airplane made to look like a beluga whale. Also cylinders, mostly cylinders. Here's an actual beluga whale. Mostly just cylinders. Aardvarks, mostly cylinders. So you can see that if you're going to be drawing organic things like people, characters, animals, those kind of things, you're going to need to learn how to use shapes, and you're going to need to learn cylinders is a good one. Um, so and superheroes are it's important to learn these shapes because basically what superheroes are is just people, and you're learning to draw people and then exaggerate them. So superheroes have all the same. Let me just show you a little bit here. Superheroes have all the same shapes as normal people because they're still people. Um, so I'm not going to go through all of the let's see here. I'm not going to go through all of the shapes that we use um, or describe all of them in detail. We'll do that maybe in a little bit later segments, but we will kind of break things down. And you'll sort of see how what we're doing is just constructing a figure, and then when we go to create superheroes, we're just going to exaggerate those features. So I'm talking about cylinders, but you don't actually have to do it. The way that I'm doing things is not the only way to do things. So a lot of people might start off with boxes is another way to do it. But again, organic shapes are maybe a little bit more round, so boxes can make you feel a little bit boxy. So if you think about a character from boxes, you're going to end up with sort of a rigid boxy type character there, right? So, but what you see that I'm doing is I'm taking these major parts of the body. So here's the torso, and I'm kind of breaking it down into a basic shape. So we're starting with that's probably the largest mass of the body. It's not a bad place to start, but sort of taper down the abdomen. Your pelvis is a bit of a triangular shape. You can do an oval for the head, cylinder for the neck, circles for the shoulders. And this is just places to start. And you're not drawing any particular character at this point. You're just putting characters together. You're just drawing them. Arms are broken up into cylinders, joints, circles, arms, cylinders, legs, cylinders, legs. So you can sort of see feet, little triangles, boxes. A figure can start to come together pretty quickly, and obviously this isn't anything fancy, but it's just just the sort of the piece of things. And so what I like to do is mostly, because we're trying to think about characters every character you draw needs to be an astronaut. They need to be in space. So I like to draw them maybe at a little bit more of a 3/4. So as I draw my torso is usually a little bit more rounded kind of thing. So it's a box. It starts off as a boxy shape, but I kind of round it out. That's my center line, right? I'll still have a cylinder for a neck, and I'll still have um, a sphere or an oval for the head. Maybe kind of round the shoulders out. But I'll still start with these cylinders. And now you can start to see, if you understand the shapes, you can start to understand how they are positioned in space. It's a little easier to imagine what a cylinder looks like from all these different angles than it is maybe an arm and all these muscles, and not that there's a lot of muscles here, but the bone structure and everything that goes along with it. You don't necessarily need all that information. You just need the shapes to start with, right? And so this can get more complicated. But so here's a drawing that I did a while ago, and but it's the same idea. I just want to reiterate that for you a little bit. So here's this arm here is just a cylinder. We've got spheres here. This, you can sort of see where this torso comes in. Sort of see that we've got a cylinder for a neck. Sphere in the ear. And we'll get into this maybe in a little bit more detail later to talk about what it's like to look at these things in perspective and foreshorten and distances and things like that. But the main thing that I want to get across today is just to, as you're drawing, as you're thinking about drawing, to just be thinking about, how do I build what I want to draw out of shapes? What are the main shapes that I need to build the characters that I want to draw? And that's how you can start to help yourself draw characters from your imagination and not necessarily have to see them all the time. You do want to start with some sort of basics, so that you have a character that you can kind of draw from any angle, any size, and any pose. And so you'll start to sort of flesh them out as we go along. And again, the thing that makes it into a super powered character really is just the exaggeration of those shapes. Those shapes are still the same shapes, but if I want, to really beef this guy up, his head usually stays about the same size, but it's the same shapes, just exaggerated, that helps him to feel more like a super character. And sometimes you put a little shield on the front there. Or if he happens to be Captain Aardvark, you've done your cylinders well. So that's what I got for today, and that's just a place to start, like I said. So thanks, and I appreciate you joining me, and we'll spend a little bit more time fleshing out more of these ideas. If you have questions or suggestions, feel free to send them, and I'll be happy to answer. But that's all I got for now, and have a good day.